If you had a chance to talk with a centenarian and ask them what were their secrets to a healthy long life, what would you ask? A question about their diet? Was there anything remarkable about it? Perhaps any miracle foods? What about physical activity? Did they exercise, and if they did, what exercises did they do? And how about their personalities? Were there any personality traits that contributed to their good health? Hi, I'm Bill Tsu, author of Dad Lived 201 and You Can Too. In this video, we're going to answer these questions, which are the most common questions I'm asked about my dad, who lived into his centenarian years. In the answers, we're going to touch upon several important health issues that you should be aware of. How to reduce your risk of sarcopenia, a relatively unknown condition that can make you weak and frail. It affects tens of millions of Americans. Why some people can eat carbohydrates with almost all their meals without the carbs hurting their waistline or their health. And how one particular personality trait can cause serious harm. After hearing the answers, you come to understand more about what it takes to live a healthy, long life. That there's no secrets, no extreme lifestyle practices. Just simple, common sense things work. So let's get started. Did my dad ever exercise? And if he did, what exercises did he do? My home gym is the perfect place to answer this question. We all know that staying physically active is good for our health. Doctors say it's the best medicine there is, and I would also say it's the closest thing we have to the fountain of youth. It increases blood flow and oxygen delivery to all our organs and tissues. On a microscopic level, it rejuvenates our cells, keeping them from aging so quickly. Now, did my dad ever exercise? The answer is no. My dad stayed lean and fit, yet he never exercised a single day. Instead, he just lived a physically active life. But the reality is, the answer is not so straightforward, because many of my dad's activities were essentially exercises, when you look at the movements and the muscles he used. Two particular activities come to mind that contributed greatly to my dad living a long life. And I should say, not just a long life, but a healthy one with a good quality of life. That's because these activities help prevent sarcopenia. Now, what is sarcopenia? You've probably heard of osteopenia, which is the precursor to osteoporosis. Osteopenia is the loss of bone mass and strength, while sarcopenia is the loss of muscle mass and strength. So instead of bone, we're talking about muscle. Sarcopenia is not well known, but it's just as serious as osteopenia and osteoporosis. The loss of muscle tissue typically starts early in our lives, in our 30s, because of hormonal changes and inactivity, and this loss accelerates as we enter our 60s and 70s. Sarcopenia can lead to frailty with accidental falls and fractures. It's one of the leading causes of loss of independence as we grow older, and is associated with a lower quality of life. We also don't live as long if we have sarcopenia. So let's take a look at a couple of my dad's activities that help to prevent this condition. My dad operated an old-fashioned clothes pressing machine in his dry cleaner until he retired at the age of 75. This machine had a large hot ironing plate, an upper plate with a handle on it, essentially a bar that he would grab and pull down towards his chest to bring the plate onto the garments to be pressed. The movement would look like this. He would grab the bar, bring the bar and his chest together, and hold it there for a couple of seconds. So you can see, this activity is essentially a pull-up, or for those that work out in weight rooms, a lat pull-down. Both are great exercises for the upper body. Another activity that was important for my dad's health, especially as he grew older, was the simple action of standing up from a chair, which he did numerous times throughout the day. That's because he didn't like to sit for any extended period of time. So my dad would always be sitting for a while and then standing. Sitting for a while and then standing. This activity is essentially a squat, one of the best core and lower body exercise there is. These two activities were great for maintaining muscle mass during a time in my dad's life when he otherwise would be losing muscle. Entering his later years with this reserve of muscle tissue gave him a big advantage. It enabled him to remain physically strong and active and do things other 80 and 90-year-olds couldn't do. The lesson here is that it's important to start doing some form of resistance activity or exercise for the upper body, and it doesn't have to be pull-ups, and lower body, not just when you become a senior, but well before. That's so you have a solid base of muscle mass when you reach the later years of your life. Was there anything remarkable about my dad's diet? I wish I could say there was some special food, some miracle food that my dad ate that was a secret to his health and longevity, and that if you ate it too, you too would stay healthy and live long. But I can't. There's no such food. Your body's nutritional needs are not that simple. It requires a variety of nutrients from the major food groups, an assortment of protein, carbohydrates, fats, vitamins, and minerals. Looking at my dad's diet, it was in fact unremarkable. It was overall nutritious and similar to the Mediterranean diet, which, by the way, has been consistently ranked year after year as the healthiest diet out there. But my dad's version of it had an Asian twist. Throw in some bok choy, lychees, and various soy products. It had lots of vegetables, fruits, legumes, nuts, and fish, and only small amounts of red meats. Now, my dad's diet also included rice with most of his meals. Rice is a carbohydrate, a macronutrient that has been blamed for much of the weight and health problems in this country. But it didn't hurt my dad, and the same is true for the Japanese people. They too eat plenty of rice. In fact, percentage-wise, they dine on as much or more carbohydrates than Americans. Yet their obesity rate is 1/10 of ours, and they possess one of the longest life expectancies in the world. Why is this so? The key is that they're able to limit the amount of calories they eat. And calories do matter. If the atoms that make up your body come from this universe, then the laws of thermodynamics apply, and calories in versus calories out will determine your weight. Essentially, the sum of the calories the Japanese and my dad ate, including the calories from the rice and other carbs, didn't exceed the calories their bodies burned. And so they didn't gain excess weight and didn't increase their risk of the diseases associated with being overweight. The takeaway here is that carbs, complex carbs in particular, are not necessarily bad for your health as some believe. In fact, besides Japan, in many other longevity areas of the world, carbohydrates also make up more than half of the calories that people eat and are an important part of their healthy diets. And now, the final question. What was my dad's personality like, and did it affect his health? I'm glad I'm asked this question because there's some out there who don't think about how their personality affects their health. But it does. Here's just one example of how it can. People who lose their temper easily are at a higher risk of cardiovascular diseases. In fact, after an episode of anger, your risk of a heart attack can increase almost 500% and a risk of a stroke almost 300%. What happens is the anger kicks up the blood pressure and heart rate, increasing the workload on the heart and increasing the heart's oxygen demand. This can lead to a heart attack. These physiological changes can also damage the blood vessels in the body, including those in the brain and those leading to the brain, which can result in a stroke. So personality traits can definitely affect your health. And I'm happy to report that being a more tolerant individual is better for you, both mentally and physically. Now, what about my dad? There were many aspects of his personality that contributed to his longevity, but the one I believe contributed the most was his sense of gratitude. He recognized and appreciated the good things he had. He would always say, "I'm so lucky, I can't ask for more." That was how he viewed the world and his life. In every situation, good or bad, he found something to be thankful for. Numerous psychological studies have shown the power of gratitude in improving physical and mental health. Being grateful helped my dad be happy, optimistic, and resilient. It enabled him to cope better with stress, something very important for a healthy, long life. The bottom line is that when you think about your health, don't forget about the role your personality plays. It can enhance or undermine your health and thus affect your longevity. My hope is that this video helps you understand how to live a healthier and longer life. I've seen what we discuss work for patients. Over my more than 30 years of medical practice, I always made it a point to ask exceptionally healthy, fit, and youthful seniors how they do it. Now, this is a very select group of individuals because I would only ask a handful of patients every year. The answers would always be the same, and they didn't include running a marathon or any intense exercise program. Also, extreme diets were not necessary. No carb-free dieting nor days of fasting. Just simple, common sense things work. Staying physically active, eating a variety of nutritious foods and not overeating, and managing stress well with an optimistic perspective on life. One final word, and it may be the most important thing I say in this video, and that's to not take your health for granted. You have only one life and one body. If you want to be healthier and live longer, make good health a conscious choice. Your health requires work at times, so commit to it fully so you do what is necessary to live your healthiest possible life. It's definitely worth it. To learn more about living a healthier and longer life, check out my book, Dad Lived 201 and You Can Too. 101 Things to Know for Health and Longevity. Available now on Amazon.